I'm Emily Murase, Director of the Department on the Status of Women, and on behalf of the San Francisco Collaborative Against Human Trafficking, I want to welcome you to the 2017 annual conference. The work of this collaborative began in 2009 when we hosted the first community convening on human trafficking. Is there anyone in the room who was there with us in 2009? A couple of people. I see Jamal, yeah? Would you believe this year marks our 5th annual conference? Let's see who's in the room. If you or your agency is a member of the collaborative, please stand and be recognized. Members of the collaborative. Let's give them a big hand. If this is your first time at one of our conferences, please stand. We want to welcome the first timers. All right, fantastic. And we have a number of conference sponsors: the Friends of the Commission on the Status of Women, Alaska Airlines, the Department on the Status of Women, the National Council of Jewish Women, the Administration for Children and Families, Freedom Forward, and the Jewish Coalition to End Human Trafficking. If you're one of our sponsors, please stand to be recognized today. Thank you so much. Now it's my great pleasure to introduce Emily Hughes of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Administration for Children and Families. She's with the Office of the Regional Director, and Region 9 includes California, Alaska, Arizona, Hawaii, Nevada, Guam, and tribal communities. So she has a very big job. Here to welcome you is Emily Hughes.
Thank you so much, Emily. Just to clarify, with the Office of the Regional Administrator, which is Administration for Children and Families, we're Region 9, based here in San Francisco, and we don't reach as far as Alaska, so California, Nevada, Arizona, Hawaii, and the Outer Pacific Territories. I'm honored to be here representing the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and welcome to the conference. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services is a federal agency responsible for providing both foreign, national, and domestic victims of human trafficking access to benefits and services needed to help them to restore their lives and achieve self-sufficiency. We are committed to working with incredible organizations like the Collaborative and all of you to explore partnerships to strengthen data collection, better target public awareness and prevention campaigns, expand training to address root causes of human trafficking, and empower survivors of human trafficking. Just some quick housekeeping notes. The restrooms are down the hall. Out the back doors, it's really just the elevator bank, so there isn't much out there. There are no restrooms out back. If we have to evacuate for some reason, like a fire alarm, you exit to the door, through the doors behind me, you make a right, and you head to the staircase. Past the Annex building, which most of you probably tried to get into on Mission Street, there's some concrete benches, and that's the gathering place. That's just to keep you safe. I just want to say congratulations to the Conference Planning Committee for creating such a robust agenda. Congratulations to all of you for joining such a vibrant community of learning and action. Thank you so much.
We want to thank Emily and the Administration for Children and Families for hosting us in this conference center. I know it was a challenge to get through security, but we're very fortunate to have access to this conference space. We're still waiting to receive the greeting from Senator Harris, so we're going to postpone that to just before our lunch break. So we're going to skip ahead to the remarks by Police Chief Bill Scott. It's my great pleasure to welcome Police Chief Bill Scott. After 27 years serving in the Los Angeles Police Department, most recently as Deputy Chief, Chief Scott began his duties here in January, shortly after being sworn in by Mayor Edwin Lee. He is only the 3rd outside hire in the department's 167-year history. Already, he has gained a reputation as a straight-talking pragmatist who cares deeply about ending human trafficking. A native of Alabama and a graduate of the University of Alabama, Chief Scott is a descendant of Freddie Shepard, a baseball star in the Birmingham Black Barons who led the Negro League in batting in 1946. Chief Scott has been married for 29 years and is the father of 3 grown children, including a star Yale football player. Please help me welcome Chief Bill Scott.
Sorry about those doctors.
Yeah, I had a hard time getting over that one. So good morning, everybody. Well, I think we need to hire Emily. She's a good detective, man. Don't you? Not many people know about me, so thank you. So I just want to welcome everybody here. This work that you all are doing, to me, is one of the most important parts of law enforcement. And those of you that have heard me speak about human trafficking before, I mean, I really have a passion for this work because it is probably one of the most vulnerable populations that we have to deal with. And fortunately for us, in San Francisco, we have some outstanding people that are equally committed to human trafficking, led by Tony Flores sitting over there, which most of you know. And it really does take collaborative effort to address this issue because it's such a pervasive issue that without the collaboration, without not only the law enforcement, but the prosecutors, which I know are here, and service providers, which is really, I think, one of the most important parts, and it took me a long time to really understand that it has to be a holistic approach to address this issue. Because in my travels, particularly before I came to San Francisco, one of the things that I learned late in the game is that we can do all the enforcement that our heart desires, but if you don't have that other piece of this, with the service providers actually providing services to the victims, you're kind of missing out, and really you're missing the biggest piece of it. And that service component, I believe, is really the key to making a difference and moving forward and addressing this issue. One of the things that we want to do here in San Francisco, we know that we're under-resourced, and we're committed to adding resources as appropriate. Right now, we're going through a lot of staffing analysis and whatnot, and in my discussions with Tony and Chief Chaplain, who's sitting here, we know that we'd like to do more. It's a matter of committing those resources to make sure that that unit is staffed to meet the demands, because there's a whole lot of things that we'd like to get to that we just don't get to. Human trafficking, as you all know, runs the gamut of sexual exploitation, labor exploitation. There's all kinds of issues that are out there that we know that we don't have the resources to do, but we'll keep plugging away. So my commitment to you as the Chief of Police here is that as long as I'm here, I can tell you this will be a passion of the San Francisco Police Department. And as long as we got people like Lieutenant Flores on our team and his team of officers, we'll be committed and we'll be right there with you to address this very, very difficult and pervasive issue. So thank you, and I'm looking forward to hearing more in this morning's conference. Thank you very much.
Chief Scott has already engaged on several levels on this issue, so we really thank him and his team, Chief Tony Chaplin, and of course, we'll hear later from Sergeant Flores. So next, we have a very special keynote speaker who traveled from his home in Ohio to be with us today. Anybody here from Ohio? Home state? No? Harold D'Souza serves as co-chair of the U.S. Advisory Council on Human Trafficking, which was established by an act of Congress, the Justice for Victims of Trafficking Act of 2015. The council is composed of 11 human trafficking survivors appointed by President Barack Obama, including Min Dang, who is based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I know some of you know her. The council makes recommendations on federal anti-trafficking policies. The council's first report was issued in October 2016. Mr. D'Souza came to the United States from his native country of India After completing a bachelor's in law and a master's of commerce from the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. His employer secured an H-1B visa for him to work in the U.S. as a business development manager for an Ohio manufacturing company, promised to a salary of as much as $75,000 a year, much more than his pay in India. He arrived with his wife and 2 young sons in 2003, full of dreams that quickly turned into a long nightmare of forced labor at an Indian restaurant. Please help me welcome Harold D'Souza.
Happy morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Emily, thank you for all the introduction you gave me. I think I don't know to speak much, but still I'll share some of my story, like what happens in the life of a victim, especially in the United States of America, the past, the present, and the future. But before I start my journey of a common man from India who never dreamt will come to the United States and end up at the White House on the Advisory Council. And before I start my journey, I just want to thank each one of you sitting here that today, if I'm standing here on behalf of all the survivors, not only from the United States of America, but all across the world, it's for all the good work you all do. Maybe from the law enforcement agencies, from the non-profit organizations, service providers, every drop, everything you do matters. And that is how I'm standing here. So thank you, each one of you. And before I start, I just wanted to thank Chief William Scott, San Francisco Police Chief. I'm very proud. 10 years back, I was scared of any cop. I would have been out. So now I can proudly say I know the police chief of San Francisco. I've got one more feather on my cap. Well, like my journey, I always say like a frog in a well. I grew up in a village in India where there is no running water or electricity, and every house has a well. You get water from the well. So the life of a victim of human trafficking is like a frog in the well. The frog thinks that that's the world, because it has got water, it has got comfort, but it doesn't know it has got a bigger world outside. Same way for a victim in human trafficking, he or she is in the control of the perpetrator, and they don't know the culture, they don't know the people, they don't know the law and order, and they get entangled in that. So that's the frog in the well. I'm writing a book, A Frog in a Well. And before I go ahead, just to give a brief background, perpetrators are very smart, very intelligent. They go one step ahead, and we need to be one step ahead of their game. They understand the background of each and every victim. They know the culture, they know the people, they know the understanding, what are their shortcomings. So mine is an arranged marriage. So I'm married for 23 years. So that itself speaks volumes. I was invited to the United States of America in the year 2003, and I came on 4 things. I came on a trust, I came on a faith, I came on a promise, and I came to live my American dream. I was invited on an H-1B visa. I entered this country legally. My wife had a H-4 visa, a dependent visa. I came as a business development manager on a salary of $75,000, which is mucho money. It's like a mega $1 million for me, because we convert it to rupees. So you have to understand again the background, the thinking of a foreign national. But we were made to work 16 hours a day. And there are certain red flags I always keep on educating and preventing whenever I have to do a presentation, is that the day I landed, my perpetrator asked me, Harold, do you have any cash? And I honestly said, yes, I had $1,000 cash with me. He said, oh, this is America. You can't keep any cash or documents, just give it to me. I'll keep it in safe custody. That was my first day. Because when I was coming to the US, it was like I was coming to paradise. I was coming to heaven. In India, there's a saying that America is Swarg. Swarg means heaven. So when I was coming, people say, man, it is only for God's chosen people who are invited to the United States of America. So I gave my documentations and I thought, oh, that's as good as keeping us in the locker. He made my wife work where she was not supposed to work and said that fixed her salary for $2,000 per month. We started working starting from 8 hours. Within few days or few weeks, we were putting like 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days. I still remember the first night when I came home at like 2 o'clock. We are also excited to see our kids because my son was 4 years and 7 years old. So I opened the door with excitement and opened with such an excitement that my younger son was sleeping on the floor. I hit so hard on his head that it still traumatizes me at many times. And my older son used to sleep 6 feet away on the floor. But that was the routine. But that is how they break the cycle. Time went on. He said, hey, Harold, I'm going to buy a house for you. He never paid us a dime. He is trying to create a control over me. I didn't know that. It never struck me. So he takes me to a bank, makes me sign some documents, and there I see a five-figure check in my name. I never applied for a loan. Takes me to his house and says, Harold, you're a rich man. Let's celebrate. He stays in $1 million house. And he takes me to his kitchen, takes 2 shot glass, puts a drink, maybe it's scotch or a brandy. He says, cheers, let's celebrate. It was late afternoon, I just gulped it down before the alcohol could reach my stomach. He gives me a note like this. Harold, you owe me this money. And I think, before I could even register what was going on, I said, where in the world I'm going to get this much of money and pay him? My heartbeat stopped for 1 second. But in that 1 second, I lost 4 things. And that's what happens to most of the victims. I lost my voice. I lost my courage. I lost my hope. And most important, I lost my freedom. This is what they do. Comes December. In my country, growing up, having a piece of ice was so much excitement, so much happiness. It was like having ice cream for me because nobody had a refrigerator in the house. We saw snow for the first time. We were so excited. Oh my God. I used to always believe how God creates this. So my kids go to school, we get a note from the school teacher that both my sons cannot come to school if they don't wear a snow jacket. Now, we didn't know what is a snow jacket because they had sweaters, the woolen ones, see-through. But my chef, he bought it, my kids go, next day they come back, and I get a note from the school teacher that both my sons cannot come to school if they don't wear snow gloves. So they had gloves, but they were woolen, see-through. So again, my chef buys them 2 snow gloves. But these are small things, the red flags, that many times a common foreign national, in the case of labor trafficking, doesn't know. What happens? The perpetrator, he is very intelligent. Many times, let me tell you, the perpetrators I've interacted, they are professionals. They have been doctors, they have been businessmen. They have so much money, and I always do a research that why are they doing this? It's number 1 is a greed. Number 2 is money. Number 3 is profits. Any business you do, there are a lot of costs involved. There's a lot of risk involved. You don't know whether you will make it or no, whether you will get profits or no. But here, it's guaranteed. Profit is guaranteed for you because you don't have to pay anything for labor. And the labor is the main cost. And that is what he does. But this continued, and my wife one day could not take it. So she intervened the perpetrator in the kitchen, and she said, hey, can you please pay me my back wages? You promised me $2,000 salary. And believe me, perpetrators, especially in the United States of America, in labor trafficking, whether you're in San Francisco, you're in San Diego, you're in New York, or you're in Washington, D.C., they use 4 words. very loud and clear and million times. Number one, I'll get you arrested. Number two, I'll get you handcuffed and they'll show it to you like this. Number three, I'll get you jailed. And the worst, number four, I'll get you deported. And no foreign nationals wants that. And when my wife asked him that, guess what he said? You are illegal. Who told you to work? I can call the immigration department right now and get you arrested, handcuffed, jailed, and deported. So my wife was dumbstruck. She didn't know what to say. She said, okay, please can you pay the $1,000 my husband Harold gave you? He calls me, stands, looks into my eyes. Harold, what cash? What money? You never gave me anything. That day, I was devastated. How on this earth I would prove that? Like I told you, I lost 4 things again. I gave on 4 things, but that day I lost my trust, I lost my faith, I lost my promise and my dream. But I always say, in God's home there is delay, no denial. I just want you to watch a small video, which is of 3 minutes, where you get an entire idea of a story, what happens in the life of labor trafficking. And in most of the case of labor trafficking that I have got victimized and worked, it happens in gas stations, it happens in restaurants, it happens at convenience stores, it happens in motels.
Tens of thousands of hardworking people in America, and as hard as it is to believe, it's happening here in the tri-state. Catherine Nero walks you step by step through a family's American dream, and the moment they realized it was all a sham.
$75,000 a year. That's the money Harold D'Souza was promised, the money that made him uproot his family from India and move to Blue Ash. The money he never saw. What he did see was confusion, starvation, lies, and years of fighting to get the life he longed for.
Harold and Nancy D'Souza moved to the U.S. 11 years ago.
Back in India, it's every person's dream, I would say, to come to the United States.
With $1,000 in their pocket, faith, promise, and a dream.
The faith got changed to fear. The promise got transformed into slavery. And my dream, which I came, was like a hell.
Within months, the nightmare began. They worked 15-hour days, 7 days a week, and never got paid. The D'Souzas are educated, but they say they were still brainwashed by the restaurant owner who brought them here.
Well, whatever he said, we believed.
Aaron Meyer from End Slavery Cincinnati and the Salvation Army says that story is a common one.
It starts off as a seemingly, particularly with labor trafficking, this is a great job, it's going to be a great opportunity, and then it divulges into this abusive, restrictive, and coercive relationship.
So for more than a year, the D'Souzas lived with no money, no furniture. Their children, Bradley, now a sophomore at UC, and Rohan, a junior at Sycamore, slept on the floor. Clothing and food were scarce.
If you don't have a pair of shoes, you can still live. If you don't have some basic, no television, you can live, but it's very difficult to live if you don't have food. You know, like, and I can still feel it.
The restaurant owner, whom the D'Souzas won't name for fear of retaliation, never paid them a penny.
In US, we didn't know the culture, we didn't know the people, we were totally clueless.
Eventually, Harold and Dancy took their story to Blue Ash Police, who sent them to the Department of Justice.
She said this is a case of human trafficking. Till then, even we did not realize that we had been trafficked.
On the other side now, he's proud of his perfect attendance at his new job at Children's Hospital, and Bradley and Rohan have an entire trophy case of awards honoring their community service.
This community helped us so much. Us giving back however little time is still not enough to make up for the thanks that we have.
We came with a dream to the United States of America, and today I think we're living the dream.
Harold says the food he eats, the air he breathes, it's better now that his nightmare is over. WCPO reporter Lucy May has an in-depth look at the D'Souzas on WCPO.com, including the outcome of their lengthy court case and how you can help identify victims of human trafficking. Catherine Nero, 9 on your side.
Yeah, so that is
Human trap.
That's a I just want to thank each one of you, like the community members, the service providers, and every individual in Ohio and across the nation, like whatever you are doing has transformed not only my life. I always say that you didn't save one life, you also saved 4 lives. So it was my wife and my 2 sons. And my life got transferred from pain to pleasure, darkness to light, from slavery to success, and from fear to freedom. Like I was just seeing the logo of San Francisco collaborating on human trafficking, like a bird flying. So most of the times I've seen the victims here, like especially foreign nationals, they are so scared that whenever labor trafficking and debt bondage takes place, the perpetrator, he provides accommodation next to your establishment. Because then he knows that the labor is available 24 hours. He doesn't need salary. So they might just pay like $50, $100 at any given point of time. Anywhere you go, whether it's at a gas station, it's a convenience store or a hotel, these perpetrators, they hold or withhold the salary of at least 6 to 8 months minimum. And that is the way they operate. They know that he or she will not run. I just want to give a small incidents. How I have seen so many victims, I've seen so many survivors, how we lose trust on law enforcement agencies. So please don't get hurt, but I'm just going to share some reality. What did my perpetrator do? Because I ran out of the situation, I didn't know, but my life went from bad to worst. They used all psychological fear on me. He hired a guy to shoot me. I always saw the movie The Good, The Bad, The Ugly of Clint Eastwood. It's so exciting, it's so thrilling. I saw that in India. But when you see blood, you enjoy, you have fun. It's a big hit. But when you get shot, it's a different story. You forget your entire priorities of life. You don't want the status, you don't want money, you just want to breathe. So this is what happens. It's not that easy. And one day, I was just sitting and talking to my wife and telling I'm not going to live. I could see my death every day. But my younger son was playing on the floor at one corner. He comes to me. I always tell, don't be scared what the child speaks, but be scared what the child sees and hears. He came, patted on my back, and tells me, Dadu, if you die, what happens to me? Who will take care of my school? That was like God talking to me. It cut me through. But these are certain things that transform me. I was hospitalized. They put about more than 11 units of blood. I come home. After a few days, my perpetrator was stalking me. A young, smart lady, maybe 11, 12 o'clock, comes and knocks my door in a business casual and says, I'm from Job and Family. And I just looked at her for a second. And again she tells me, I'm from Job and Family. So I heard the word job, so I thought maybe she's come to give me a job because I was looking for a job. So she removes a badge from a thing and tells me, I'm from Job and Family. I come to pick up your kids, I'll put them in the car, I'll take them, they'll cry and you cannot do anything. She started blasting me, and then that is when I just woke up. I said, what's this? And before I could say something, she enters my house. Well, where are your sons? Where are your kids? They were not at home. And my bad luck, my younger son just walks in within like a minute from school, and she said, I need to talk to him. So she takes him inside. Guess what? They asked only one question. Do you know 911? And my son said, no. And believe me, in a case of labor trafficking or debt bondage or a foreign national, come what may, he or she will never ever call 911 because they are so scared. But the real story is different. But then I started I was losing my temper. Can you imagine a father standing there and somebody threatening you to take your son? I didn't know what was child abuse. She's blasting me. I'll do this, I'll do that. I said, do you know me? Do you know I didn't get paid? I didn't get what the hell I was going through. I didn't have food in the house, this, that, and all. She's like, stop. You frustrated man. You need to go to church. So this is what I get. And she was doing her job. That might be the procedure or protocol. I don't blame her. Then I think that we have to be trauma informed. Or that could have been a red flag. And why this, when I told her also I didn't get paid. So these are certain things. I think like what you all are doing is having training, education, inviting survivors. Because when a survivor talks, he talks from his reality, his true life story, which cannot be got in the, whether it is in Stanford or you go to Harvard, you will not get it. There are certain things, there's a reality. It's not written 1, 2, 3, 4, that's human trafficking. No, it doesn't work like that. It's a different, altogether a different game. And most important is that I always tell the story, the psychological fear the perpetrators use. Back in India, I've seen those baby elephants, they're tied with a thick chain, a very thick chain. The previous slide. The previous slide. Yeah, this, with a thick chain, the baby elephant. And what does they do? The baby elephant is very naughty, it tries to run. They bleed, they bruise, but they cannot run. So it gives up in its mind that I cannot run. It surrenders. But the same elephant, after a few months or a few years, is grown up. It can uproot a tree. It can topple a car. But the same elephant today is tied with a jute rope and just with a small stick. But what does the elephant do, the big elephant? It just lifts its leg up and down, up and down. It just has a feeling that my leg is tied. But that elephant doesn't know that it can break it like a blink of an eye. Same things happens in the mind of a victim. Whether it's sex trafficking or labor trafficking, the perpetrators psychologically create so many barriers that you are like in a prison. Only thing that you are not in a physical prison, but you are in a mental prison, that you cannot do anything. You think that, oh, I cannot run, I cannot do this if I go. That's so many times I've seen, I got for the sex trafficking, that a girl goes out to a store, or they move from one store to another, or from one motel to another. They say, why didn't she ask for help? She's been controlled. She has been brainwashed. So many times in human trafficking cannot be taught. I always say, at times it has to be taught, like how this happens, and what one can do to help a victim or a survivor. I always tell, like what you all have done, San Francisco, thanks, kudos to you, that you all invite every year one survivor. Anytime you all do any training program, I always say, engage, encourage, educate, empower, employ, and most important, treat every survivor equally in the community. That's very important, respect them. I always feel happy, I'm so proud that today when I go to the White House, I go to Washington DC, they treat me like Harold D'Souza. They treat me like a diplomat. I'm almost emotional every time, even today. I can't imagine, and no one ever talks to me what happens to my story. They just listen to me. What can we do to improve? I always tell that we need to focus on improving the life of a survivor. We say, okay, we rescued 10 survivors. That means he's fine. Like you get operated in the hospital for appendix or any particular disease like cancer. Once you come home from the hospital, that doesn't mean that you're cured. You might die after 10 days if you don't take care of yourself, or after a few months. Same thing happens in the life of a victim or a survivor. Once just you're getting some treatment doesn't mean that he's rescued, he's free. No, it doesn't work. We need to track what happens to a survivor after 1 year, after 2 years, after 4 years, after 5 years. Is he back getting re-victimized? Has he got proper help? Most of the time, I got re-victimized so many times. And the most important things I just want to tell you is that the survivor, he needs mental counseling. He needs help. Because one is dental. I never went to a dentist for 10 years. And whenever a survivor or victim, he gets a complimentary, like you go to a hotel, you get a complimentary breakfast. But for a survivor or for a victim, he gets complimentary diabetes, he gets complimentary blood pressure and other health issues. So we need to check them in if they don't know, because they don't have insurance. So there are a lot of good things that has transformed my life. Always look at the good part. Always say that, don't worry, be happy. That victims or survivors are poor starters. But I can only assure you that they are very strong finishers in life. So always entrust, believe, because most of the time, the survivors or victims don't work or rely on government funds, because all the time it is the perpetrator who takes the benefit. But once, if you read my story, which is there, I kept it behind on the table, is that today I'm very proud that my boys are doing good, we are happy, we are blessed. And in the end, I just tell, if you want to take anything from a survivor or from all the survivors, I just said, just take 3 things. Be happy, be thankful, and be empowered. And in the end, I just want to end on a small note that never tell God how big the storm is in your life, but tell the storm how big the God is in your life. Thank you.
Harold will be with us all day today, and he will be speaking again at the Food Supply Roundtable this afternoon. So if you'd like to engage with him further, please join that panel. Next, we're going to transition to our panel presentation on digital technology to counter human trafficking. I want to invite the speakers up. Sergeant Tony Flores, Sarai Smith-Mazregos of SHADE, Rebecca Scher of the SFCAHT Fellow, Jennifer Kimball of Palantir, and David Sanborn of IBM. If you could please come up to the front. We're so pleased to have an amazing panel this morning. Unfortunately, Karuna 9 of Facebook can't be with us today due to an injury. But let me make a few quick introductions. You have your full biography in your program. Sergeant Inspector Tony Flores is a nationally recognized expert on law enforcement responses to human trafficking and intimate partner violence. He's played a critical role in over 100 human trafficking cases as a leader in the San Francisco Police Department Special Victims Unit since its inception in 2012, and is a member of the Mayor's Task Force on Anti-Human Trafficking. Next to Tony is Rebecca Scher, Graduate Policy Fellow of the San Francisco Collaborative Against Human Trafficking. After stints as a congressional intern in Boulder, Colorado, and on the staff of Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper, Ms. Scher is completing graduate work at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies at Monterey, where she focuses on women's human rights and Latin American political systems. Going to the left of Tony, David Sanborn was raised in Santa Rosa. After graduating from UCLA in philosophy, he served as a police dispatcher for the university and became a police officer in Newport Beach, where he leveraged social media to improve law enforcement strategies and won the coveted Telly Award for video production. Currently, he works in cyber threat analysis, enterprise intelligence, and video analytics at IBM and is based in Orange County. Next to David is Jennifer Kimball. She has a very unique title. She's a philanthropic engineer at Palantir, helping to locate missing children at a leading technology company that set out to solve the world's toughest problems, including human trafficking. She previously worked at Polaris, where she played a key role in expanding reporting to the National Human Trafficking Resource Center to include texting to be free. Since 2013, the text line has generated well over 500 human trafficking cases. And finally, we have Sarai Smith-Mazregos, founder and executive director of Survivors Healing, Advising, and dedicated to empowerment, SHADE, an agency based on the belief that survivor leadership is essential to creating positive change and empowerment within and outside the movement. She's the founder of several survivor-focused organizations in the San Francisco Bay Area. She's an expert in crisis intervention and trauma-informed care services for those who've experienced sexual trauma. She's a member of the Mayor's Task Force on Anti-Human Trafficking, SFCAHT, and today's conference planning team. And just one note I want to make, building on Harold's excellent remarks. SFCAHT believes in including survivors, so you'll find survivors on many of our panels today. We consider them the true experts on the issue and the work of anti-trafficking. So we ask that you respect the privacy of survivors. They will share what they would like to share today, but we want to be very respectful of their experiences. So I've asked each of the speakers to discuss the ways in which technology helps or hinders the fight against human trafficking. And why don't we start with Rebecca as a presentation for us. Please give a warm welcome to Rebecca Scher.
Can everybody see this? Is it clear enough? Okay. Thank you. All right. Hello, my name is Rebecca Scher. I'm a graduate student at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies at Monterey. I'm also a fellow at SFCAHT. I'm here today to share with you all a software. And this software is called Marathi. I've recently started using it in my school in Middlebury. It's designed to effectively and efficiently focus nature conservation projects and has been shown to significantly increase their success rates. So nature conservation being save our shores, save the sharks, don't eat shark fin soup, projects of this sort. But what if we could recreate this tool and use it for human-targeted projects? Could we increase the success rates of our human trafficking projects? As in general, we tend to combat human problems in a manner that is tailored to our personal expertise. But maybe we're spinning our wheels a little bit. Maybe we're wasting resources, time, money. What if we could find a more effective way? I believe that we could increase effectiveness by using design tools prior to the start of a project. We can share this design tool, these files, with stakeholders, with donors, within our organizations, so we can have this shared and very focused goal. My professor at Middlebury, Professor Jeffrey Lakeholtz, asked, can anyone this semester use Marathi software and use it towards a human target? Here's a sample of my Marathi file. The targets are in green, and these are SFCAHT's 4 primary goals. I wish I could. The only thing I can think of is turning off the lights. I can read them. Okay. Yeah, sorry. So SFCAHT's 4 targets. Better? Okay. A little bit. It should be the opposite, but. So SFCAHT's 4 targets are. Here we are.
Put your hands to yourself, right?
Prosecution and punishment, prevention, victim assistance and protection, and partnerships. This pink you see, those are the direct threats, and the orange are contributing factors to these direct threats. These targets can be anything, really, that you feel you would like to hone in on in your own personal goals or in your organization's goals. So we have prevention. You can add goals. This is a 10-year goal I arbitrarily chose. Indicators to these goals. And let's step back. So 2 things I felt inhibit prevention. San Francisco is a port or an airport city, so that means that there's a transient population that isn't easy to maybe train on how to spot human trafficking or human trafficking prevention. But what can we do about the fact that San Francisco is a port or an airport city? Not much. So community participation, I felt, could be a little bit higher on the priority list. So that's basically community members feeling efficacious and feeling like they have kind of this shared goal towards eradicating human trafficking. Emily, just to make sure, we're doing it 5 minutes and 5 minutes, or should I just run through the whole presentation?
Do the first 5 minutes.
Okay, fantastic. So this was a cursory glance of Marathi. The software can go very deep and go into many different levels. When I return, I will discuss why Marathi is really a game changer and what sets it apart from maybe other design tools.